Have you ever noticed how if you pull up to a drive-through pharmacy window to pick up a prescription, and you can pick up any prescription through that window, anything a doctor has prescribed for you, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's Xanax, Valium, Oxycontin, Dilaudid, whatever it is, methadone, you can get it through that window. But there's a sign on the window, if you notice, that says, we do not sell alcohol through this window. Now, of course, you can get milk, or, if the drugstore has groceries, they will sell you groceries and whatever else through the window, but they will not sell alcohol through the window. Why is that? If you can sell opiates through that window, if you can sell amphetamine salts, i.e. Adderall, through that window, i.e. pharmaceutical grade crystal meth, or on the other side of the coin, sell Dilaudid, hypomorphone, which is actually pharmaceutical grade heroin, why can't you sell alcohol through that window? Alcohol is a drug also. What is the deal? And it's not because it's a liquid or anything like that, because you can get soda through that window, you can get milk through that window, orange juice. What is it? This, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the many contradictions of the fiction system that I will be bringing to your attention in this particular episode of For the Quantum Grammar Shoot podcast, the only podcast of its kind on the interwebs that I'm aware of. I'm your host, Jason Matthew Colin Glass, full stop. And in this podcast, I will look at various topics as viewed through the logical lens of correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar, the great and awesome sacred grammar technology brought to the public in 1988 by the late David-WYNN Miller. Full stop. So isn't that interesting about the drugstore drive-through window? Why is that? We could also talk about the fairly recent medical pandemic that happened and how serious everybody took that, right? Because it was supposedly so terrible, and they had to get this remedy out ASAP, made it mandatory. People were losing their jobs. People had to wear face diapers, and it was so serious. Well, what about cancer? Isn't cancer just as serious? I mean, dangerous? Fatal? You don't see the things that cause cancer being banned, do you? You don't see sugar being banned, do you? No. So do you think that the FDA really gives an F about your health? Do you think the CDC really cares whether you live or die? Oh, I said the D word in under 5 minutes. I better calm down, ladies and gentlemen. I better chill, because I don't want the censors to pick this up and sanction me somehow. I'm trying to speak to the logical side of your brain, the critical thinking side of your brain, because I know that there are many, many, many folks out there who still believe that the government and government agencies have their best interests at heart. Deep down, we're the good guys, right? When you look at going to war with other countries, it's the good old boy system. We'll take care of what you don't want to do. You don't want to know the truth, right? You can't handle the truth. Isn't that what the kids call gaslighting? Anyways, It's all a bunch of BS. All a bunch of BS, because no, I can't think of one time that the government had the people's best interests 100% at heart. You know, the other day I looked up who owns the White House. I just Googled it. You know who owns the White House? Supposedly, United States citizens own the White House. Supposedly, United States citizens, if you are one, you have a share in that house. Well, if you own a house, you can go in the house, right? You can visit the house. Am I right? Go try and visit the White House. It's your house. Go try and visit it once. See what happens. The people that are in government are so far removed from the everyday Joe and Jane, or Karen, that it boggles the mind. It really boggles the mind. Their reality is so far away. I mean, you can get glimpses into these things by watching Netflix shows or, you know, Amazon Prime shows, streaming shows, the soap opera type shows that supposedly go behind the scenes of how a presidential office is run, maybe. The politics, the nepotism, major nepotism. They do give you a glimpse into that stuff. And you rarely ever hear anybody speak out about things like that. And if you do hear them speak out about it, well, they don't stick around very long. So in no way, shape, or form is this government in any way representative of the people, as maybe it once was, or maybe it never was. I have no idea if it was or it ever was. I wasn't there. I don't trust history at all. I know some of you have some sort of faith in the way history is laid out, but I don't. Because history is written by the winners, and I've gone over this again and again ad nauseum in other podcasts about how the record books are kept. And you've heard it before. History's written by the winners. Isn't it a coincidence, as the late Norm Macdonald once said, isn't it a coincidence that the good guys have always won the wars? Aren't we so lucky? Wow. If that doesn't knock your socks off, I don't know what will. Alright? What is another saying? History is an agreed upon lie? I would say so. Especially when you're talking about the jaywalkers. The jaywalkers. Yeah, I was able to maintain control of my orbicular muscles in saying that. I didn't say the other J word. Especially when it comes to them and their history and countries and things that their own scholars have said about them. Their own scholars, self-professed jaywalkers. I remember one jaywalker was giving a speech talking about the first two laws that old Adolf enacted when he got into office. The first two laws. The first law was that he banned pornography, sexual deviancy. So you couldn't go out, because I guess Germany at the time was a cesspool. It was called the Sodom and Gomorrah of the world, with a lot of prostitution and things like that. Well, he banned all that. And then the second thing he did was he banned interest. He banned usury. So if you got a loan, the jaywalker who gave it to you could not charge you interest. Those two things saved Germany's economy. And Germany was booming after that. And that is why he wanted to get the jaywalkers out of his country. Eventually, it came to that. Because no matter what he did, there was always that element, that economical element in there of poisoning the well, poisoning the economy, control. And you can, read it up on yourself. You read it up for yourself. I do have a suggestion of an online book that you might want to read that's very informative. It's called When Victims Rule. And if you can't find it, I can definitely send you a link to it. It gives a great history of the jaywalkers, and it basically tells you that in any society in which they are allowed to exist, they form the smallest percentile of the population, but yet they are the wealthiest and exert the most control over that society. Keep that in mind. Let's harken back to the late William Cooper's book, Behold a Pale Horse, published back in 1990 or 91, where he published the Protocols of the Wise Elders of Zion. Whether that's a real document or not, the information that's contained in that document sure does ring a lot of bells. Yes. So to get back to my original point about contradictions in society, let's talk about the current president that everybody, all the patriots, were so excited about. We're finally going to get this and that and the third done. Well, some things that were done that make me chuckle. They took the men out of women's sports, which is wonderful, for sure. Especially in domains like, wrestling or swimming or things like that. Because that's just ridiculous to think that men and women are physically matched evenly. Nope, they aren't. And you can't prove otherwise. Show me the percentage of female Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Green Berets. That are male. And then show me the percentage of Army Rangers, Green Berets, and Navy SEALs that are female. And there you have your answer. I am not knocking anyone. I am telling it like it is. So that's good. I mean, that was just ridiculous. And cutting, what do you want to call it? Like unnecessary funding out of government projects and institutions and things like that. Yeah, I mean, if it helps the regular person, yeah, sure. I agree with it. But on the big issues, I saw Trump kiss that wall with the jaywalkers. I didn't realize. There was a really funny meme where it says, the president you voted for, and it has Donald Trump, and then it has the president you got, and it has Bibi. Which is hilarious to me. Why are there settlers on the West Bank jaywalking settlers who have kicked out Palestinian homemakers out of homes that they've lived in, family homes that they've lived in for generations? These jaywalkers kick them out and live there for free. They don't have to work. They don't have to farm. They're just given everything. Paid for by whose tax dollars? I'll give you one guess. But yet the Trumpers, the MAGA people, are so happy with their president and their choice. and they're so happy to send their money over there, rather than help out the homeless veterans that are here, rather than help out the homeless people that are here, rather than develop a mental health program. All these buildings, these government buildings that are becoming empty because of the cuts in federal funding, let's turn them into mental health facilities. Try and help get some sort of solution to this homeless problem. Because I would say 75% of the homeless population are not right in the head. And before you start arguing with me saying that I'm putting a blanket statement out there, when's the last time you went out and had a conversation with someone who's homeless on the side of the road holding a bucket and a sign? When's the last time you spoke to them? Because I can tell you that from my own experience living in Arizona, in Phoenix, Arizona, in that area, and then living around the Detroit area, I have never spoken to one homeless individual, one transient, that seemed to be what I would call of sound mind. Completely sound mind. I mean, within reason, because they're always under stress, and it's a terrible situation to be in, not knowing where your next meal's coming from, always in danger, especially if you're a female, even a male, you know, especially if you're a young male. You're always in danger. You're always paranoid. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible situation to be in. But yet there's really not that much help, is there? There's really not much oversight. But we can force you to wear a mask. We can force you to stay 6 feet apart. We can force you to stay home. We can force you to only have 6 people in your house for the holiday. But we can't get a handle on this homeless situation. I could go on and on and on and on. This has just turned into one massive rant. Not my normal run-of-the-mill sort of podcast. I've kind of gone off the rails on this one. But hey, I hope it speaks to 1 or 2 or 3 of you out there, and you start thinking critically about this system that you and I are ensconced in. The difference might be that while there are some things that I have to do in the fiction, it doesn't bother me one bit, because I have something by my side that, if need be, I can use and do use from time to time for the safety of the vessel and the biosphere. I will catch you in the next one. Que sera, sera.